Changing out your oxygen sensors or O2 sensors is not a quick or easy job and cannot be done without Porsche Special tool 9866. There is no room between the engine and the fenders to work without using the tool. I do not recommend making a homemade tool here. The weight of the engine will be supported by this tool while you're reaching in there. There is an O2 sensor on each side before the cats, red arrows. Begin by removing the two side engine compartment covers. This is Porsche Special tool 9866. It is basically a turnbuckle that will replace the upper engine brace. You will use this to give you room to work between the engine and the fenders. We're going to start on the right side sensor. You can see the wiring connection for the right side sensor mounted, red arrow. First, you need to remove the upper brace, blue arrow. Use a 16mm wrench, blue arrow, and a T55 Torx, red arrow, and remove the mount and hardware. In this image, you can see the lack of room to access the wiring or the O2 sensor, red arrow. Using the mount's hardware, install the Porsche Special tool 9866 and using a 17mm wrench, turn the tool to give you more room to work. With the tool expanded, you can see how much more room you have to work. Accessing the O2 sensor and wiring is now a tight but possible fit. Remove the sensor wiring connection from its mount by lifting up on the plastic tabs and pulling it out, red arrow. Press down on the tab to release the connection and separate them, red arrow. Follow the wiring down to the sensor, releasing the clips as you go, blue arrow. The wiring attaches to a bracket at the rear of the engine. Separate the wiring by pulling it out. Make sure when installing the new sensor that the wiring gets reinstalled into this clip. The turbo is right below it, and if the wire is not supported, it can get in contact with the turbo and melt. You're going to need a 22mm Crowfoot socket, universal, and extensions to access the sensor. The easiest way, which is not really easy, but the best you can do, is install the Crowfoot over the thin section of the wiring harness where it mounts in the clip, red arrow, and then lower it down onto the sensor. Make sure it completely seats before applying force to remove the sensor, blue arrow. There will be a small amount of anti-seize on the new sensors. Use care when installing that you do not get this on the functioning end of the sensor. To change the left side sensor, use a 17mm wrench and contract the tool to give you room to work on the left side. Remove the sensor wiring connection from its mount by lifting up on the plastic tabs and pulling it out, red arrow. Press down on the tab to release the connection and separate them. Follow the wiring down to the sensor, releasing clips as you go. The sensor is attached to the engine just below the coil wiring harness. Remove this mount and make sure you reinstall it to protect the wiring from contact with the turbo when installing the new sensor. This shows the location of the left side sensor indicated by the red arrow. Again, the easiest way, which is not really easy, but the best you can do, is install the Crowfoot over the thin section of wiring harness where it mounts in the clip, and then lower it down onto the sensor. Make sure it is completely seated before applying force to remove the sensor. Installation is the reverse of removal, and torque the sensors to 50 Nm or 37 foot-pounds. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and check out another video in this series.